labs. This sign up like a million times. Okay. And it doesn't keep it like I can't explain it. Anyway, James Craig, we have to catch up on James Craig, and then we're going to look at the other things. But James Craig, we've missed the last talking about the last couple of days of trial because we were on the Idaho 4 documents, and I'm going to check just to see if they released any more of those either, but I doubt it yet. We'll see though. All right, I'm going to just go over here to it's 8 and 9 that we have to go to with James Craig. So let me make sure that we're on. All right, well, we're going to see this one. Okay. Okay, so a detective read a 4-page timeline that James Craig, the dentist, wrote on March 20th, 2023, 2 days after his wife, Angela Craig, died. James Craig wrote in the timeline that Angela Craig talked about crashing her car into a pylon, but worried she wouldn't die. He claimed that Angela then began researching poisons. And prosecutors asked, this was the Bobby Olson. This was the lead investigator in the case. This is the investigator that James Craig was trying to have killed, okay? She testified about the timeline, which according to court testimony was the first time James Craig had written down anything about what happened to his wife. She read portions of it, okay, so she's getting the pylon. She began researching poisons according to this. And when asked by the prosecution, Bobby Olson was asked if she had uncovered any evidence that Angela Craig had done that. She said no. James Craig stated in the letter that the two of them came up with 4 possible poisons, including arsenic, oleander, potassium cyanide, and tetrahydrozoline, the ingredient in Visine that's toxic if ingested. James said that Angela later asked him to research poisons for her, and that he had a change of heart and wrote in the timeline, "I was not going to try and back her out of it." In the letter, he said that 2 Mondays ago, and that's a reference to March 6th of 2023, they tried eye drops, and that was their first trip to the ER. According to court testimony, James said he purchased 19 Visine bottles. He said, "I must not have calculated the dose correctly, or she didn't take all the drops." And next they tried the arsenic, and he wrote that Angela asked him to put it in a protein shake so she wouldn't taste it. And he said that she chugged it down. And then he said, "I did not want to tell the physicians what she had taken because she was not telling them what she had taken either." James then wrote in the timeline that when Angela was in the hospital on March 9th, she asked him to research the fastest poisons. He wrote he figured it was either potassium chloride, but that would hurt a lot going into her IV, or cyanide. But when did he order the cyanide? Prosecutors asked Olson. March 8th, she replied. Earlier Friday, Olson testified that James Craig ordered the potassium cyanide for pickup and he hoped to pick it up on March 9th. She also said that the data from his phone showed that on March 8th, he drove from his home to Midland Scientific, the company where he purchased the cyanide. And Bobby Olson is going to continue on the stand on Monday. So this is Friday that we're going over now. She spent hours going over home security videos from the Craig's home. and prosecutors worked to establish that James Craig was the person who poisoned his wife and conducted online searches at his dental office. The jury was shown a fraction of more than 1,000 hours of video that was recorded at the Craig's home between February 16th and March 20th of 2023. And there were 8 cameras at the Craig's home, some of which recorded inside the home and others captured what happened outside. The only camera with audio recording was in their kitchen. Many of the videos show James Craig leaving or coming home. Prosecutors used that to establish that James Craig was not home at specific times. Bobby Olson said that she was asked to remind the jury when online searches took place on a computer at Summerbrook Dental. According to her prior testimony, someone used a computer there to search for the following. On February 27th, there was a search for, is there such a thing as an undetectable poison? On February 27th, how to make poison from oleander. February 28th, how to make murder look like a heart attack. February 28th, a dosage of tetrahydrozoline that is fatal. March 1st, how long does it take to die from arsenic poisoning? March 6th, search for Visine. March 6th, search for tetrahydrozoline poisoning timeline. When the February 27th searches were made, Olson testified that James Craig's phones pinged in the vicinity of Summerbrook Dental and that Angela Craig's phone remained near their home. Security video viewed by the jury showed James Craig leaving his home at 6:43 a.m. on March 1st in his Ford Expedition. She testified that based on the data she reviewed, James Craig's phone and vehicle both traveled to Summerbrook Dental, and the searches were made on the computer at Summerbrook Dental between 7:12 and 7:44 a.m. One of those searches, according to prior testimony, was related to arsenic poisoning. The jury was shown a video taken from the Craig's home days early on March 4th, and it showed a USPS vehicle moving in front of the home towards the communal mailboxes. 2 minutes after the mail truck is seen leaving, Olson testified that James Craig was the person in the video seen walking out to the home, from the home to the mailboxes and returning with a package. It wasn't clear what was in the package. However, a prior witness told jurors that an Amazon account under the name of Jim Craig was also associated with a Gmail account of James Craig, placed an order for arsenic on February 27th. It was shipped to the Craig's house on Friday. Bobby Olson testified that the arsenic was delivered on March 4th. The same day, he was seen picking up something from his mailbox, and records show the arsenic was left inside the resident's mailbox. Other videos that were taken from the Craig's home on March 9th show James Craig in the kitchen going in and out of the fridge and handling a shaker bottle and a white cup. He's later seen giving both of them to his wife. Jurors were also shown photos of James Craig at UC Health on March 15th, and he's seen in the video at one point leaving a room and going to the bathroom. When he exits the bathroom, he appears to be holding a thin, clear object in his hand. He re-enters Angela's room and came out a short time later to the nursing station. How long was he in the room before he went to the nursing station? The prosecutors asked. Exactly 60 seconds, Olson replied. After James Craig exited the room, Olson said the video showed him pointing to his arm, and all 3 nurses at the station stood up and looked into Angela's room. She said it was clear from that video that something was going on. Earlier in the day, Olson testified about life insurance policies and said there were 4 active policies listing Angela as the insured person. Between the 4 policies, the total payout would have been $4 million. She testified that James Craig was the beneficiary for each of them. Okay, so that was Friday. Now we're going to look at Thursday because we didn't have a chance to Go over Thursday. Alrighty. What's this about? Okay. Let me just get this over here. Got Dr. Karen. Let me get. I have to get to Thursday because we missed Thursday. I really wish we'd be allowed to see this. So crazy that they won't let us see it. I don't really understand what the heck it's about that they won't let us see this trial. Okay. Okay, this is the one. Yep. Alrighty. So Angela Craig's family took the stand on Thursday after many of them had spent the week and a half sitting in the courtroom. Her siblings, Mark Prey and Tom Kofed, spent hours telling the jury all about their littlest sister, her passion for genealogy, her type A personality, and most of all, her love for her family. She absolutely loved being a mother, and that was the number one thing in her life, Mark Prey, brother said. He described her as sharp, dependable, and always positive. Kofoed echoed him, calling her sister smart and funny, kind but not timid. Both laughed when prosecutors asked if Angela Craig was a risk taker. Angela was the one who would bring things back into the proper directions, brother Mark said, and her sister Toni said that she was confident and in control. She was never one who would risk her life for fun, her sister Toni said. Both of the siblings vehemently denied that Angela was or ever had been suicidal, an idea defense attorneys have floated throughout the testimony. Mark Prey, the brother, said you could fill a stadium full of Angela's friends who would all disagree. There's only one person in this world who would say she was suicidal, and that's the person who murdered her, Mark Prey said. The judge struck the statement from the court record. Toni, the sister, broke down on the stand, telling jurors that Angela was her best friend in the heart of their family. She said she spoke to Angela nearly every day, and they told each other a lot about their lives, even the ugly parts. Toni said Angela had told her about some of James Craig's affairs. I'm feeling really broken and really alone. I'm leaving Jim, but not until after Christmas. He's made it impossible for me to stay. I know you're there for me, and I love you for it. Talk when I can, is something that Angela wrote in a text that was read by prosecutors. Toni said her sister later changed her mind about leaving. Toni told the jury that Angela told her James Craig once drugged her, and despite trying to repair their marriage after their most recent affair he had, she discovered something still felt off. Defense attorneys noted that while Toni and her sister spoke often, Angela didn't tell her everything that was wrong in her marriage. They used Angela's word, broken, to describe her. Tony came to her sister's defense immediately. Broken heart, broken relationship, not a broken mind. Mark Prey and his wife, Renee Prey, had driven in from Utah to help out the Craig family when they heard Angela was sick. Part of their responsibility included giving her medicine James Craig told them she needed. Mark testified that Craig told him and his wife that Angela needed to take 2 antibiotic pills on March 15th, telling them it was clindamycin. The capsules were in a pill bottle, the label of which said prescribed by Craig himself, Mark Prey testified. 20 minutes after giving her the capsules, Mark testified there was a dramatic change in her health, saying she couldn't even hold herself up. They rushed her to UC Health. Angela would die there 3 days later, and at the hospital, Mark said Craig's emotions didn't seem right, especially later that day when doctors said Angela wouldn't recover. Renee, Mark's wife, testified that James Craig said Angela's last words were, "Why do I hurt?" Earlier, jurors heard from a 4th woman who said she had an affair with James Craig. She was the 3rd woman to testify that she met him on a dating site. Like the other women, she said James Craig sent her affectionate texts and gifted her thousands of dollars. The jury also heard from an investigator specializing in device data from cell phones and computers, and he testified to searches originating from Craig's phone and a computer in the dental office. And Craig had allegedly used that computer at the dental office. Searches include how long does it take to die from barium poisoning, how long did it take to die from arsenic poisoning, tetrahydrozoline poisoning timeline, and undetectable poisons. Okay, so now we are caught up on that. So Monday, it's still going to be going on. Prosecution still hasn't rested yet, and they've called 47 witnesses as of Thursday, but then Friday there were more, so they're close to 50 witnesses still. And I want to make sure that. Okay, good. So that's crazy. Hi, Turquoise. It does stink. I haven't seen you in a while, Turquoise. Good to see you. Yeah, it stinks. We're only able to see opening statements and closing statements and maybe the verdict. Yeah, it's just like it's going to be like that other thing. But let's see. Now let's see what's going on, because Scooter said there was some kind of something stabbing. And let me see. Okay, let's see. A North Carolina woman who vanished last year and whose abandoned car was found in California has been located safe in Colorado. Wow. A cruise ship crew member stabbed another crew member and jumped overboard. Oh my gosh, okay. All right, let me find, I'm trying to find what Scooter's had there. What the heck is this? Hold on a minute. I've got to look at this. Okay, let's look at this. Here's a, hold on a minute. Here's an affidavit from a guy in Florida. Okay, let me get his name here, because I want to get his Douglas Scott. Douglas Scott. 1 second. Okay. All right. I can't believe this. Here's this guy. I'm going to put his picture up here. He's 60 years old. He's charged with first-degree murder and domestic battery. Okay, here's the affidavit. We're going to just read what the narrative is here, okay? All right. The defendant and victim, okay, this is him and his wife, okay, had been together for 6 years and married for 3 years. They currently live together as a family. Last night, the defendant and victim made plans to take their boat out on a fishing trip. They're in Florida, okay? On July 20th, 2025, at approximately 7 a.m., they boarded their 30-foot Sterling center console boat, which is kept docked at their residence on the canal. They listed vessel bears the vessel registration number. On the way to their destination, the victim noticed that the defendant's demeanor seemed off, as he was not as talkative as usual and appeared to be angry. Once they reached their destination, 33 miles off the coast of Bean Point, the defendant started fishing. The victim was sitting in a beanbag chair on the port side of the boat in front of the center console. The defendant started to become irate when fishing due to his fishing line snapping. To avoid an altercation, the victim decided to get in the water and float on a pool noodle. While floating, she kept a hold of a rope which was tied to the boat. At some point, the defendant untied the rope, put the boat in gear, and drove off without her. The victim stated that she felt the defendant was leaving her out there to die. She then noticed another boat off in the distance. She thinks that's what prompted him to turn around and come back for her. When the victim climbed into the boat, the defendant began repeatedly punching her on the right side of her head. He then stomped on her head with both feet numerous times. While getting punched and stomped on, the victim stated she went in and out of consciousness. Hold on. In an attempt to save her own life, the victim said she pretended to be dead. She tried to slow her breathing and remain motionless so the defendant would stop hitting her. And once he stopped hitting her, he dragged her by the hair to the rear of the boat and into the water. The defendant then placed both hands around the victim's throat, attempting to strangle and drown her in the water. And as he was doing this, he said, "I'm going to effing kill you." The victim stated she was gasping for air and salt water was coming out of her nose. The other vessels started coming closer to their location. The victim believes this is the reason the defendant let go of her. He let the victim in the water. He left her and in the water, battered and gasping for air. He then put the boat in gear and started to drive. The victim was able to interlock her feet around the ladder at the rear of the vessel and hold on. The defendant dragged the victim behind the boat for a short time. The victim was fighting to stay above the water. She believes the defendant tried to leave her and didn't realize she was hanging on. The defendant eventually stopped the boat and the victim climbed back in using the ladder. When the defendant noticed she was back on the boat, he started to punch and stomp her body several more times. He then dragged her to the back of the boat and shoved her overboard. The victim saw a rope dangling from the rear of the boat and wrapped it around her right ankle. But just before the defendant started to drive away a second time, the victim got dragged behind the boat for several minutes before she was able to pull herself back onto the rear of the boat. While he was driving back inland towards Bean Point, the defendant noticed the victim was on the rear of the boat. The defendant let the boat continue driving on its own as he went back to batter her, only stopping when he had to adjust the course of the boat. As he got close to their residence, the defendant had to actively stay in control on the boat to navigate through the narrow canal to their dock. As the boat slowed, the victim jumped onto the dock and ran to the Holmes Beach Police Department, just a short distance from their residence. This was at 13:37 hours. 10 minutes later, the defendant was seen on the Holmes Beach Police Department surveillance camera, fleeing the area in his pickup truck. The victim was transported to Blake Hospital to be treated for her injuries. She suffered from a concussion and multiple contusions. Her head and face were swollen. Her right eye was completely swollen shut. She had bruises on her arms, neck, and face. At this time, the defendant's whereabouts are unknown. Given that the crimes at issue are crimes of violence and they were committed in a watercraft against a victim who's a resident of Manatee County, Florida, this may be prosecuted in Circuit Court of the 12th District under the authority of blah, blah, blah. Can you believe this guy? What the hell was that about? What? That's crazy, right? She's amazing that she survived all of that. That's just absolutely crazy. I don't even know about it. That's just nuts. Okay. Now I want to find that thing. Where'd she say? What mission? Lansing, Michigan? Where'd she? Michigan. Okay, it was in a Walmart. It was in a Walmart. Hold on a moment. Traverse City. It was in a Walmart. Hold on. Trying to get. Here we go. It says at least 11 people were stabbed Saturday at a Walmart in Traverse City, Michigan. At least 11 people are in the hospital. Grand Traverse.
Quaker Chewy bars made with whole grains.
Stupid things. Grand Traverse County Sheriff Michael Shea said a 42-year-old man acting alone entered the Traverse City store. He used a folding knife to stab nearly a dozen people. The suspect, who authorities have not publicly identified, was taken into custody without injury within minutes. Citizens and Walmart also helped to apprehend the man and treat the victims. Munson Healthcare and nearby hospitals said 5 of the victims are in serious condition and 6 are in critical condition. While their ages have not yet been released, the sheriff's office confirmed they were not first responders or Walmart employees. Shea said the man appears to be a Michigan resident, but when asked if he could specify the area the suspect was from, Shea said he would rather not comment. Agents with the FBI are responding to provide support, according to Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Let's see, a Walmart spokesperson, Joe Pennington, said violence like this is unacceptable. Our thoughts are with those who were injured, and we're thankful for the swift action of the first responders. We will continue working closely with law enforcement during the investigation. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer posted on X that she's continuing to monitor the situation closely and is in touch with law enforcement about the horrible news out of Traverse City. Our thoughts are with the victims. Hold on a minute. Traverse City is a small city in northern Michigan, about 140 miles from Grand Rapids. It is situated by the water on Lake Michigan. Okay, so that's what that's about. Let's see what else is about. Manicures. Let me see. Wait a second. Do they have them around here? It happened at about 4:45 p.m. Duck sitting in a raised pond. The happy-faced killer. What is this about? The happy-faced killer wants Brian Koberger as a potential cellmate to solve security issues. The happy-faced killer, Keith Jesperson, said he wants to be prison bunkmates with Brian Koberger. He is incarcerated for life for killing at least 8 women between January 1990 and March of 1995. He wrote in a letter to a podcaster and former prison minister, Keith Rovere, who shared the note with Fox News. A transfer to the Oregon State Penitentiary System in Salem, Jesperson said, might save the cold-blooded killer's life. His best hope is to be transferred here to the Max Prison in Oregon, to be away from those who want to make a name for themselves by killing him. That's the happy-faced killer. He says this prison gets inmates from other states in order to protect them from the drama. Koberger, who managed to avoid the death penalty for the brutal murders of Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Senna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, is expected to be housed in the Idaho Maximum Security Institution in Kuna. Jesperson, whose victims were discovered in Washington, Oregon, California, Florida, Nebraska, and Wyoming, warns that Koberger could become a target if he's placed in the prison's general population. He will be singled out right away to be made a target for those who see him as weak, and the crimes of that kind of murder. Most likely Idaho will put him in protective custody like Jeffrey Dahmer, but we all know how that ended. Okay, so the happy-faced killer is looking. Hilliard. What happened here? Triple murder suicide? Hold on a minute. Let me see what this is about. Hilliard, Florida. Hilliard, Florida. It says neighbors in Hilliard are shocked after the Nassau County Sheriff's Office said 34-year-old Christopher Rowell took the life of 3 family members before turning the gun on himself on Thursday night, with a 5-year-old girl escaping out the home's front door. So the 5-year-old survived, and oh my gosh, it says that the neighbors said that Jax Rowell exhibited unusual behavior and had advised their children to avoid him. The other neighbors reported seeing Rowell pointing a gun at another neighborhood child on July 4th. Neighbors are now rallying around the young survivor who is staying with family members. There is way too much to be on a 5-year-old's shoulders. The only thing I can do is pray for her. Oh my gosh. Last Friday evening, identified the women killed: Marissa Liara Rowell, 32, Sandra Gale Fogarty, 71, and Alicia Lael Fogarty, 33. My gosh, I don't even understand when the 5-year-old escapes. Okay, let me see here. Look at something else. This here, so we know we're talking about this now. Another thing. It says the 5-year-old girl pounded on a neighbor's door for help when her family member shot and killed 3 women at her house. The 34-year-old suspect is clinically deceased, but he remains on life support pending organ donations. Deputies got a 911 call on the evening of July 24th from a neighbor across the street. When first responders arrived, no one answered the door, but deputies found it unlocked and stumbled into a bloody scene. Deputies found one woman dead in between the living room and dining room, and another in the hallway bathroom, and a third in the bedroom. The suspect was lying unconscious in the living room, still with a pulse. During the shooting, a 5-year-old girl managed to escape through the front door, run across the street to a neighbor who called 911. The girl told investigators she was in the back of the house when she heard a gunshot. She walked down the hall to see the first victim dead in the living room. Another woman grabbed her and put her in the bathroom, but then the woman was shot and killed, spattering blood on the child. The accused shooter then went in the bedroom, killed a third woman before he was found in a puddle of blood in the living room. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I wonder why people are so messed up, everything that's going on. What is this about? What happened here? It's another child named Crew. I think the other influencer, her baby drowned, was named Crew, wasn't he? It says 4 months after his wife's sudden death, Matt Okula posted an emotional update on his life as a widower and single parent to their infant son, Crew. He's reflecting on the past 4 months since he lost his wife, Haley, on the same day they welcomed their first baby together. In an Instagram video posted on Thursday, July 24th, The grieving widower shared an update on what he called the hardest, most emotional, confusing time of his life. On March 29th, his wife, known on Instagram as Nurse Haley, died suddenly due to childbirth complications. Minutes after their son Crew was born via cesarean section, Haley went into cardiac arrest following an amniotic fluid embolism. She was 33 years old. Everything that I knew about my life changed. I lost my wife, Haley Okula, the love of my life, my best friend, the person I built a life with, the last 12 years and essentially my entire adult life, he said in his video, which was also shared to Haley's nursing community Instagram account. At the same time our son Crew was born, he added, I became a father and a widower in the same moment. He's an LAFD firefighter. He opened up about learning to live his new reality. He said he's still figuring out how to grieve and heal after Haley's death. Some days are completely debilitating. Some days I feel like I'm surviving hour by hour. And some days I feel like those little small pieces of peace. He continued to speak to Haley's commitment to uplifting and helping other nurses on her page where she normally posted about careers in medicine. That's crazy. An amniotic fluid embolism. Some plausible warning signs. Severe weather heading for 7 U.S. states this weekend. Passengers evacuate American Airlines plane on a runway in Denver. Dylan Dreyer. I don't even know who that is. Okay, I'm not seeing much else. Let's see. 1 second, I'm just going to check if anything is. 18-year-old dancer dead. Pennsylvania dentist who killed his wife. Girlfriend of a Pennsylvania who killed his wife breaks her silence in a new interview. Breaks her silence from jail. Killing and shooting at University of New Mexico. I don't know. Okay, I'm just looking up here. There's children saw them making. Oh my gosh, these two got caught having intimate relations on a JetBlue flight. But remember that dentist in Pennsylvania that he was on a safari with his wife? Said this girlfriend. Why was she in? Oh, look at that. They're making a movie about that. It's called Trophy Wife Murder on Safari. It's on Hulu. It says, let me see here. But why is it saying that she is? Here's the picture of the girlfriend and the dentist. Remember they went on safari? These two didn't go on safari. He went on with his wife. But this is his wife. It says that the girlfriend breaks Lori Milliron maintains her innocence. The 2016 death of Bianca Rudolph. It says the girlfriend of Larry Rudolph, the Pennsylvania dentist convicted of killing his wife while they were on safari in Zambia, has broken her silence from prison. Lori began an affair with Larry in 2002, and she was ultimately convicted for her involvement in the 2016 shooting death of his wife of 34 years, Bianca Rudolph. At the time, prosecutors argued that Milliron gave Larry an ultimatum that he needed to choose between her or his wife, and that she also knew about his crime when they continued to date after the murder. She is currently serving a 17-year sentence for perjury and being an accessory to a murder after the fact, as well as obstructing a grand jury. Now Hulu's new 3-part series about the case, Trophy Wife, Murder on Safari. The girlfriend maintains that she had no involvement in the crime. There was no ultimatum. Why would I wait 15 years to give an ultimatum? It just doesn't make sense. The police did an investigation and they said it was an accident. Everyone believed it was an accident, so I assumed it was an accident as well. In another part of the series, the girlfriend said she never planned on becoming romantically involved with Larry when they first met as co-workers at his dental practice. I was reluctant, but after a little while, I slowly got to know him, she said, explaining that she eventually became the girlfriend despite the fact that he was married. When Bianca's death was initially declared an accident by Zambia law enforcement, federal authorities in the U.S. were not convinced and ultimately accused Larry of killing his wife so he could collect millions of dollars of life insurance benefits. He was eventually sentenced to life in prison in 2023 on charges of foreign murder and mail fraud. During his trial, which took place in 2022, Larry told jurors, "I did not kill my wife. I could not murder my wife. I would not murder my wife." However, a witness for the prosecution testified that he had overheard Larry making statements that indicated otherwise. According to Brian Lovelace, a bartender at the Phoenix Steakhouse that Larry and his girlfriend frequented, he heard the dentist confess to the crimes during a heated argument. Larry and Lori were having a drink. The music in the background made it difficult for Brian Lovelace to hear the conversation going on, but at some point, all of a sudden, the music stopped, and in that brief interlude, the brief silence between the songs, Larry growled, "I killed my effing wife for you." Both Milliron and Larry continued to maintain their innocence and are currently appealing their convictions. Trophy Wife premiered on July 21st, and it airs weekly. Okay. Okay, let me see where you guys are, because I don't even know where you guys are right now. There you are. Turquoise. I don't think I can handle another operation, so I'm trying to get my things in order. What's going on? I'm glad you have good dogs to keep you company. I'm looking. High murder of crows. Hi, little lady. I'm trying to catch up with what you guys. Why would she? I'm sorry to hear you going through that, Turquoise. I hope everything is okay. Hope everything's okay, Turquoise. I hope nothing's come back, and hope you're okay and totally healthy. I hope everything's all right. Let's do the word cookie daily. Kerosene. That's a no wait. What do you have? Snooker? Oh, okay. Ones? Yeah. Very good. Soon. Do we have soon? Yeah, we have soon. Soar, eons, rook. Yep. All of those so far. All NOES. Okay, very good. And Rose. Yep, got Rose. Oh, ROES. Not, nope. ROES. Someone apparently got. Oh, that's okay. Don't feel bad. Just put it at. Just put anything in there. It doesn't really, everybody can try. Rose, rose, rose. I have to do it. I have to do it. Crone and Horse. Okay. All right. Well, it was good to see you, Turquoise. I hope that everything goes well for you, and hope that everything comes out clear and you're good, and that you're back here, and we'll see you again. Love you. God bless everybody. Prayers. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Be good. I love you guys. All right. See you later, guys.